yourself in and get ready. The leaders in NBL Supercoach are incoming, giving you the ultimate insight to help you dominate your mates and climb up the rankings. You're now listening to the Insight NBL Show with your hosts, Matrix and Hammer.
Hello and welcome to the Insight NBL Show. I'm Matrix, I'm here with Hammer, and I am keen to get stuck into all things Supercoach. Mate, how was your weekend?
It was good. Long weekend here. It was nice to get a few games in, and my beloved Jackie's got up in overtime thriller yesterday, so that was a bit of a nice highlight. And you cracked the top 100, so it must have been a pretty good weekend.
Yeah. Oh, the big dog flies at NBL. He knows what time it is. So
round 3.
Yeah, you actually know
at the right time.
You're in the top 100 when you start referring to yourself as the big dog. It's okay, man. You'll get there one day.
Yeah, good. Cool, man.
How'd your round end up? Today we're gonna go through how we went. We're going to do some great game reviews. We're going to have a chat about the lowest break evens as per usual. I know I capped pretty much every game this weekend, so there was some rip snorters in there. But how'd your round end up?
Mate, I end up with 404. So it was average. I captain Magne. I was actually pretty happy with every one of my guys outside of Magne. He kind of shit the bed. But look, Kendric Davis did what he was meant to do. I had Sam Wardenberg. He made cash. Illy even sort of showed up in the first game and almost got his break even to not hemorrhage too much cash. Jack White stood tall. So, look, we had some good ones and more hits and misses, but you did a bit better than that.
Yeah, no, I did all right. I honestly, it probably wasn't that good. 431 had Magne as captain. I feel like that was a missed opportunity there. But yeah, just moved up a few spots. I was sitting pretty before that. I did boost that week though, so I've ripped my first one of those. But mate, is there any breaking news you want to cover? We should probably have a chat about our big boy Willie Magne and the little choke slam.
Yeah, look, he got lucky, didn't he? To escape with a fine was pretty fortuitous. Although, even if he didn't, it wouldn't have made much of a difference to captaining him. He was abysmal this weekend.
Yeah, did he get? I thought he got banned for a delayed ban for the next game.
No. It was a fine with an early plea. Otherwise, it would have been one game. So, look, as long as he doesn't mess up again, he's fine. But even with a double-double, like he was almost double-doubled at halftime of the second game. 13 boards, 13 rebounds, and it was still only like 25 Supercoach points. It was not a great weekend to be a Magne owner. And for everyone who was considering the hold for that round 5, it's only Tassie and New Zealand on the double. You're going to do so now with a heavy loss because his break-even's sky high now.
Yeah, his break-even's 49. I think I looked at his 5-round average and I think his first score was, I think he went 29, 56, and then 49 on a double. So that's 20,
he's rocks and
26
diamonds.
And it took overtime for him to even scrape that. It looked like it was going to be a lot more abysmal for Willie Magne owners, but at least he was, outside of Bryce Cotton, the highest captain guy in Supercoach.
Yeah, look, if it's going to hurt you, it may as well be when it hurts everyone else as well. But it was a funny game. He almost played a full first half, and we hardly saw him in the second. Tassie, elected to go small ball. Majok Deng, we'll talk about him later, went nuts. And they didn't need him. He was probably better on the bench. So I was torn, like hoping the Jackies win, but at the same time, that's my captain right there.
Yeah. I think that was the only bit of news, unless you had anything else.
No, look, the only other bit of news is the big guy, Jarrell Martin, is slated on the NBL website to make a return round 5. I saw they crossed to him during one of the games, and he looks so out of shape. He's been really hanging into those Hungry Jack's burgers. He looks round. He, I
Yeah,
can't remember. He looked fit last time he was here, right?
yeah, he did. He did. He's a bigger lad. I remember watching a lot of him in the draft all those years ago. Being a Grizzlies man, but yeah, he definitely
He's
looked
been
a
in the
lot.
static.
I wouldn't say he looked that fit before, but yeah, this leg injury's had him off the court, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like if he tore his other ACL, gravy would pour out. So yeah, look, he's going to be working his way back from that for a while.
Um, Mate, let's head into the game reviews, and that's brought to you by Game Day Squad. Game Day Squad gives out the best weekly rewards in all of fantasy basketball. It's never too late to win due to their weekly competitions. It's free to play and free to win. But you can rip some packs and get your own cards, which is relevant to how they go in real life basketball, just like fantasy. Look, if you use code IFS50, they're giving away a heap of packs. Look, it is a dynasty platform as well as a week by week. So you can pick up some guys that you think are going to be better in the future and really work towards winning these great cash prizes. For example, I've been going fantastic with Will Magnay, and he went shit
Mhm.
this week. It doesn't matter about doubles, you just get the highest score. But I had a little gold Kyron Galloway that I decided to play. So I think I'm going to be trying to sell high on my Kyron Galloway this week in Game Day Squad. So get out there, get amongst us. You can play against us. In our Discord, we've got our own competition in Insight, so you can play against us and yeah, win some real prizes.
Perfect.
Mate, let's head into. Sorry, we're a bit all over the shop. We've both been absolutely pizzled by children today. So let's have a look at the rewatch. The looks in Hammer's eyes there. Mate, the first game was
Yep.
the Adelaide 36ers versus the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Look, I'm just going to let you start with this one.
Yeah. This was a Kendric Davis coming out party. From the get go, he just showed everything we'd hoped for preseason and rewarded everyone who owned the guy. And if you captained him, you'd be as happy as a little boy with two dicks because that was quite the performance. Uh, Other notable ones in this were Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, I was a big fan of bringing in Montrezl Harrell this week, and he's went and made 22K after all of it. But looked
Mhm.
involved, but less involved because Isaac Humphries actually got off the bus this game.
Yeah, that's the big change. It probably should have been breaking news that they're starting Hump and Trez together, and it seems to be working. And the main guy who's suffering because of it is our guy Lat Mayen. I had him on my bench. He's gone from playing 28 minutes a game where he dropped that 34 piece in round one. He's hovering around that 17, 18 minutes now, which is not the worst. And he's been quite productive. Like he's having anywhere between 15 and 20 super coach points in that time. But yeah, look, it's not ideal.
Yeah, and it's not. We're not saying that Latmayan's a trade out because he's been underwhelming. Adelaide hand into another double next game, and look, perfectly serviceable for your bench, really. The only other notable guy from Adelaide is if you spent up and got DJ Vasilovic. I feel like Kendric Davis is going to take away from DJ a little bit. I think it's probably better for real life basketball, but yeah, just not as good for the Supercoach game of DJ there.
Yeah. And look, I was impressed with Kendrick Davis over the weekend that he got two big scores and he got them both in very different ways. Like we've seen up until now, he's getting close to those 10 assists. In that second game, he's come out and dropped 32 actual points. So he's starting to be more aggressive and it's going to open up the lanes for him in other ways. He's gone up
If he,
big time in cash.
yes, if he can string some of those, those 10 assist games with those high scoring games, we're
Mm.
talking Bryce Cotton esque, aren't we?
We are.
scores.
And if you think about Cotton, he came into this season priced over 400 with an average of 37. That's about where Kendric Davis is sitting right now. Um, I can see it happening. He's the man on that team. The other thing to watch, though, is he could have easily had 10 assists in that 32-point game if guys could, catch the ball or make a layup. I'm really high on Adelaide as a Supercoach team because of that tight rotation.
Yep, and yeah, no more relevant now than with a double again for the following week. Um, I am still gobsmacked by the fact that Isaac Humphrey scored 22 points in this one. How good!
Mm.
Look, we're going to stay away from Southeast Melbourne Phoenix a little bit just due to the fact that they're not really Supercoach relevant at all at this stage.
No.
Just keep half an eye on blokes like Matt Hurt, 42 Supercoach points. Derek Walton Jr. dropped in cash, but he can still score well. Got 38 in this one. And I'm actually pretty excited to keep an eye on Malik Lewis. He looked really nice in this one.
He did. Talking of staying away from teams because of the schedule, though, Adelaide do have the double this week, and then it's a real long run of singles. So start looking at that exit strategy. Look, you may want to Kendric Davis while he's scoring well and putting points up, but Montrezl Harrell, probably one you want to look at getting rid of after this week because you've got that looming Jarrell Martin coming back. We don't know what that situation is. And he's probably the one you want to get away from first. He's a lot closer to his break even.
Yeah, so make sure you got the trades to get them out. But yeah, definitely good to have a few at the moment. Mate, Cairns took care of Tassie. Cairns 90 took care of Tassie 78. Look, let's start with the guards from Taipans. Taron Armstrong. Is he must own?
He's probably as close as you can be to must own. We elected to have another week to look at him. I'm pretty happy. He's going to go up in cash, and Illy, the one I'm probably going to get out of my squad to bring in, didn't drop by as much as we were expecting. So I think that's pretty much a straight swap for most of us here. Look, we knew that Ford was going to give him the keys to the team, and it's pretty clear that he has. He was sensational, and he's going to get better.
I just want to bring up Rob's Punk in the chat. He's saying he should have trusted you. He went Edwards over Davis. Can I say that you're probably both right? Rob Edwards was great this week as well. It's just Kendric Davis went absolutely bananas. Look, making 20K out of a 277K guy, that was a little bit of a pod. That's still good from you, Rob's Punk.
Yeah, look, Rob Edwards surprised me. We talked about it, and I'd written in some of the write-ups that he was so one-dimensional. And I remember writing it during the game as I was doing one of the write-ups this week that pops up in our Patreon, and I said he's one-dimensional. And I looked at the stat sheet, and he had 4 rebounds, 4 assists at halftime. I thought, holy shit, he's actually starting to accumulate some points. And look, with Taron back, maybe he's more comfortable playing as, off the ball a little bit.
He actually did look better to the eye test, despite probably just scoring a touch better before. So,
yeah, for sure.
Sam Wardenberg, 18. He was popular to bring in. Kyron Galloway, 17, surpassed his low break even as a 140K player. Your boys over at the other end. Look, Milton Doyle, we expect 30s from Milton Doyle, so I'll leave that there for a sec. But Majok Deng, you chatted a lot about who's going to get the role at that forward, that big gap that McVeigh left. Is it Deng?
I 100% think it should have been Deng. It hasn't been so far. They've been bloody starting Voldemort, who should not be named in Ruben Tarangi. I can't even bring myself to say his name half the time. He's got to be one of the worst signings of the offseason. But look, Majok Deng came in, and he's a bit of a microwave, segueing out from Rob Edwards. He did exactly what he did in the playoffs last year. Came in that second half in the second game this week, turned the game on its head. But first game, he was ultra productive as well. And one thing we know about Majok Deng is he can put a lot of points on the board real quick, and he's not going to die wondering, is he?
No. And just had a great weekend. He's not very highly owned, but
Yeah.
comes into this following week with a -12 break even. Now his
Yeah.
schedule is single into a double, and it's 170K. But yeah, look, if you are looking at risking it to make some money, look, you could probably do worse than Majok.
And you got to remember, Tassie alongside New Zealand are the only teams on the double in rounds 5. And then Tassie going to a not such a bad schedule after that. So if you were going to use a boost potentially, and I know we're all sort of circling round 5 to bring in New Zealand guys, but maybe it's worth using your boost there to shore up your bench, make some cash, and you can hold him for about the next 4 weeks.
Mate, I honestly don't hate it. One thing I did hate about this one, look,
Yeah.
probably going into Tanner Groves hurt himself in this
Yeah.
one, which opened up Wardenberg for the next game. So that's probably more relevant for that. But Will Magnay, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Couldn't get anything done on the boards, and it was probably just due to the fact that Cairns were going small, and he would have only been able to get those really long out rebounds. They didn't even play a Cole Gagak very much.
Yeah. Look, I actually noted during the game on this one, Cairns boxed out exceptionally well. Every single time a board went up, he had guys digging in under his legs that they took him out of the game. They just made him so ineffective, and Cairns just played exceptional defense for a team that we expect this to be run and gun, outscore you. That they were really fundamentally sound on the defensive end, and it really hurt Magnay, and it probably boiled over in those frustrations late where he got cited for that choke hold or the people's elbow or whatever the hell you want to call it. But yeah, it was not his weekend, and a lot of us have buyer's regret right now.
If if you're a center, you got to stick up for your guard, though.
You do, but man, what is Mighty Mouse going in there starting shit for? The game was over at that point. He's flying his fake flag, and he's got Magnay sighted and almost ruined what was already an abysmal Supercoach weekend for him.
Yeah, yeah, nearly ruined my weekend when I thought he was going to get suspended. Um, Mate, I don't turn too many NBL games off. But here's one that I did. Perth Wildcats got beaten by 29. Apparently, they haven't got beaten by 30 since like 1995 or something, so they avoided that. Melbourne United 97 took care of the Wildcats 68.
This was unexpected, but Illy just shut Cotton down. That was the difference. We talked all week about how Cotton's break even was enormous. You needed 90 across the 2 games, and he had 20 in this one, which was uh, probably the start all of us non-owners were really hoping for. But Illy had an absolute rip snorter here, didn't he?
Yeah, this was. So many people were talking about trading him out on the double. I actually had that in the notes for the last episode that is Illy a trade out on a double, because it was something I was looking at doing, and then Delhi sort of went out and I sort of went away from it. I'm like, oh look, he might not lose too much cash.
Yeah.
16, 9 and 9, 4 turnovers, 1 steal, and 1 block for I think it was 31 Supercoach points.
Read out the
41
minutes,
Supercoach
though.
points. Yeah.
Read out how many minutes he played and tell us just how much Dean Vickerman hates us.
Yeah, 26 with that. Like, he was playing Flynn Cameron minutes for some chance. He went and brought the other Foxwell in for this one.
Why would you not just let him get the triple double, Dino? And then to add insult to injury, my boy Jack White had 38. And I'm just looking at it because I didn't sort of watch the entire game on this one. 38. He must have played the whole thing. I look, how many minutes did Jack White play?
23, because he hates you too.
You, Dean Vickerman. That's all I got to say about this one. Hey, we had a little bit of interesting lineups with Perth. We knew Dylan Windler was out. We knew Ty Webster was out for the whole weekend as well. Expecting big things from Henschel. Some question marks around the role of Elijah Pepper. How did we fare?
Look, Ben Henschel ended up with 13 Supercoach points. He played in the 22 minutes, and we'll chat about it afterwards. But I think he got made a little bit of an example of after this one in the following game. But we'll touch on that later. Elijah Pepper came in and was probably a bit better than Henschel in this one, which is disappointing. He came in at garbage time, realistically.
Mm.
But man, like I don't think I've ever seen a game where Bryce Cotton had 5 points in 29 minutes. We might
That-
never see this ever again.
No. Hey, look, comment from some bloke with a terrible name flashing up across the screen. Illy has a break even of only 8. I didn't realise this. Could
Yeah,
you hold him
on
and
it.
make some cash back this week?
Yeah, you could hold him and make some cash. Absolutely, you could. He's not
Mm.
the most obvious trade out. Just because it was in your plans to trade him out doesn't mean you necessarily have to do it, especially when there's cash to be made. Like you're holding on to, say you've got Nelmanza, which I think his 19 Supercoach points here was garbage time, or a Davo
Yeah.
Hickey or something. Holding Illy a week could make more money than cash cows, and Illy should score more points than cash cows too.
You'd hope so. And look, I've traded him out for Taran, but I may have enough cash left over to maybe trade out a Henschel or a Hickey as well. So there's some decisions to be made there. Looking at United's schedule, now I was looking at Jack White, thinking I'm probably going to hold him because he looks like he's just going to keep making cash for now. Melbourne's schedule is not horrendous. So right now we've just completed round 3. So they've got the single in round 4. Pretty much everyone has a single round 5, and then we've got 3 straight doubles. I don't think it's out of the question to hold Jack White, even Illy if you're playing him on your bench, through to round 8.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm going to have to use it to fund. I think you can only choose one at this stage of the competition, because that is still a
Yeah.
couple of singles in a row. But yeah, pick one, whether you think it's going to be Illy, whether you think it's going to be Jack White. Jack White has a break even of 9. Illy has a break even of 8 heading into the next week. Look, I'm not going to talk too much about the Perth guys. I think we're getting what we need out of Henschel. Or, on the other hand, I think you're getting what you need out of Pepper as well. I think this is just how cash cows go.
Yeah. I think, look, we might cover it on Wednesday's episode, but I think these really low-priced cash cows have been probably on the disappointing side outside of Lepepe this year. There's been nothing that's really thought on, is going to take us to the moon and back. Talking about Perth,
Well,
though, maybe a down week's a good thing because we're a couple of weeks away from them coming into 5 straight doubles. Maybe we can get these guys at a better price than we would have otherwise.
yeah, like you're gonna want to hold 3 of those guys through here, and and Cotton is the obvious captain choice. You're okay with him getting 20 every now and then, because he's gonna have more 40s than he is in the 20s. So,
For sure.
mate, Illawarra Hawks versus Adelaide 36ers, and just confirming that Kendric Davis is him. Had 41 Supercoach points. Mate, do we need to talk any more about Mighty Mouse and how he's carried the hopes and dreams of us going forward? And he's actually pushed his way into captain consideration for a lot of people now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a tough couple of matchups this week, but I mean, if he doesn't show up for Adelaide, who else will? Touch on the Illawarra Hawks. I traded out Darius Days this week. Electing to keep Cam Oliver because he has a double this week. Possibly a mistake. Darius Days has just such a high floor. He just goes about his business quietly. Another double-double, 30 Supercoach points. He's just going to keep going up in price. He's just such a solid own, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think it's just going to be double every game. I think it's just going to be 30 minutes per night every game. We've spoken at length about the fact that Supercoach doesn't take anything off for missing. Even if he's shooting bad, I think he's going to get to that double-double, and this is his floor.
Yeah, and shooting bad sometimes a blessing. I saw him get his own offensive rebound twice on the same possession in one sequence. Hey, Trey Kell, he was impressive.
Yeah, 29 points in this one. You know what? We were talking about schedule, and don't fall into the
Right.
trap of bringing in Trey Kell or basically any of these Illawarra Hawks, not for cash cows. I still think you probably made the right decision on Cam Oliver, even if he was pretty,
Yeah.
even if he
He
stunk
was.
it up this week.
The other two out of Illawarra to probably talk about though is the guys that most of us own, Hickey and Ulbrich. Where are we sitting? Are we moving on? Have they? We've given them a chance, haven't we?
I'm gonna try find a way to move one of them on. Honestly, probably this week. There's been some other guys that have put their hands up. We just spoke about Majok. I've got my
No, we
eyes on a
haven't.
couple of other. Yeah.
Majok Dang.
Oh, Majok Dang, sorry. I've got it. I've
Do
got it
not
in
buy
the
Majok.
yeah. Don't get Majok. That's that was a bad call. It's been a long day. I was on the Larry Emder at the coast with some of the other Insight boys. But look, I'm going to find a way to get Davo or Lockie out. I can't be doing this. I do think Lockie is a better hold than Will Hickey, though.
I think so. I think Lockie had a bit of a down weekend, not overly productive, and his minutes seem to be that tad bit lower, especially when we're talking meaningful minutes. They were sort of inflated a bit at the end with some junk time, but there were some guys that we hadn't seen a lot of. Blanchfield and Peatling popped up in the rotation, which hurt him a bit. So keep an eye on
Yep.
that as a trend. I hope it doesn't continue.
Peatling was the first, which confuses me. Peatling was the first forward off the bench and then played 3 minutes. I couldn't listen to the commentary due to the fact that I was at a fine establishment. So yeah,
Sure.
it was. I think it was on mute. But they had the ponies turned up. But yeah, look, realistically, they I just don't know what he was doing with the Peatling thing. And I know we're only talking about 3 minutes, but Lockie Ulbrich in 20 minutes is a lot more appealing than Lockie Ulbrich in 15 or 16.
Yeah, and Lockie Aldridge in 15 minutes going in pissed off because he's not the first one off the bench. And he's wondering as much as
Yeah.
we are, what the hell is going on here? But hey,
Yeah.
awesome game. Went down to the wire. Uh, Illawarra looked legit, but Adelaide might be putting it together.
Look, they should be. Olgan's poked the bear. Look, another double from Montrezl Harrell. If he doesn't get an NBA contract, I really hope that they find a way to keep him.
Yeah,
I honestly, Adelaide are turning into one of the most fun teams to watch right now.
yeah. Look, Montrez, he's had a couple of double doubles, but they were shaky double doubles. I was, as a non-owner, hoping that every time the ball went near him, someone else would touch it. So, look, he got lucky to scrape that double double into the end. But yeah, if you own him, you'd be happy. He probably saved your round, especially if you captained him with that last double double.
Now, I also want to paint a picture of my night. Um, Brisbane Bullets and the Sydney Kings, and Sydney Kings come out absolutely flying. So I turned it off to go sing karaoke somewhere instead.
I
I
bet
just
you did.
I just thought that that was a better choice. I was surprised to turn it on in the morning and see that Brisbane did kind of fight back. Look, I was probably yeah. Again, I honestly I was sitting there just saying, Bateman, you. I was yelling at Brano that Freddie Gillespie isn't going to be the first import sent back home. Bateman probably is.
Yeah, look, he is underperforming. I think probably the difference between those two is Gillespie wasn't brought out here to be the man. I think we knew it and we had low expectations. He's just somehow hasn't met them. But Bateman was brought out here to be the man. He was meant to be the second coming. What this team needed, an upgrade after they bought out the contract of Shannon Scott. And he isn't even as good as Shannon Scott. So
Yeah.
Keandre Cook's been, lukewarm. Casey Prather, we'll get to him in a minute. Bit of a different situation, but Brisbane are gross, and that 11-point loss is flattering. It was too little, too late. Once the game was over, I think Sydney had put the cue in the rack by that point.
Yeah, look, I didn't see anything I liked. I suppose Supercoach wise, Tyrell Harrison is far exceeding his 200K price tag. He comes into the
Yep.
next one with a negative break even. Casey Prather comes into the next one with an even more negative. I was going to say less negative. I don't know. It's really low. It's -6, and he made 30K this week.
Yeah. So if you're chasing cash, we've got a couple of negative break evens. Are you looking at Majok Deng or Casey Prather? One's got a better schedule. One's probably got a bigger role.
Yeah, Casey Prather for me.
Yeah. So hold him for that
I
long. Although we are getting close to
I
round 9, aren't we?
I regret not having Casey Prather when I said I was, instead of like a Davo Hickey or somebody like that. I had so many builds. I had the money sitting there. I actually had 170K sitting there in the bank unused this week,
Wow.
with my team.
Yep.
I just honestly, like, I should have just went with my gut. I'm like, Casey Prather working his way back from an injury, 130K. I know we're talking about a 2017 MVP, but we're talking about a guy that at least knows how to put points on the board.
Yeah. Just ask his wife when she's in the commentary team. She's not unbiased at all.
She is very biased, and not a huge fan of that. I was glad this one was on mute. But Rocco Zakarsky scored 19 Supercoach points, and that was, how do you say it? Garbage time.
Yeah. Look, it was heavily inflated. They gave him some minutes when it was all over, and then all of a sudden they came back. But if he does get the minutes, it's going to be okay. He's a very high points per minute guy. I just don't think he's the guy they need to be able to play bulk minutes. They're not better when he's on the floor. And he hit a 3. That's not his game.
No.
Talking about Sydney,
Josh
Jalen Adams.
Yeah, go on. Let's talk about Sydney.
Yeah, Jalen Adams, 10 assists, but everything else just didn't happen for him. He
He
probably would have lost money. I know a
barely
lot of guys.
played.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys held him on a single this week, which probably did pay off.
It didn't, which is probably something that we can take from, just knowing that if Sydney are blowing out teams, that they're smart enough or they're going to just rest their guys. I don't blame them. I would have done this against this team. He played 22 minutes. I don't think we're going to see too many games where Jalen Adams is only playing 22 minutes.
Yeah. The other one I note here was Cam Oliver. He hurt me. Only 16 Supercoach points with a break even of 20, which he missed. And Kelly LePepe was a beast. He had 22 actual points. Probably a little extended burn, but he's probably been the pick of the cash cows so far.
Yeah, he has been the best cash cow. Again, like, yeah, extended run. I don't know if we'll ever see him take 13 shots again.
No, not in any meaningful game. But you know what? When Sydney put it together against some of these teams that, are probably just learning to play basketball for the first time, like Brisbane, we may see him just get that extended burn, and maybe that's something to keep an eye out for.
Of note, Xavier Cooks, Sydney Kings captain, 24 minutes, 23 Supercoach points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, just filled up absolutely everything. Honestly, we were very wrong about Xavier Cooks, and probably in depth, probably because Kelly LePepe is playing that role that lets Cooks do absolutely everything.
Yeah, I really like it. He's in my early trade-ins for this round. I'm looking at it heavily. There's some guys in the chat, Corey Blackledge, asking about our thoughts on Cooks. Look, I think he's going to be pretty must-own this week, I think, as a captain option. You're either going to go with him or Kendric Davis, probably. We'll unpack that a bit more on Wednesday night. But he had, I think I've made a note in the Patreon notes, but I think it was 44 Supercoach points in 16 minutes, like almost just before half time, maybe, or early in the third. He was just going off. Finished with 48, but like I said, they put the Q in the rack pretty early. Cooks is due to really have a big season. It's something we didn't pick. We really thought there were going to be too many mouths to feed here.
Yeah. And they've got the role players that I didn't expect them to have. So that's great. Like, I honestly didn't expect Jalen Galloway to barely play at all. and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah, it's working out for Supercoach, and it might work out later on in the year if he is banged up. Then he comes back in, and we get him at a cheap price.
Yeah. And if this is Gordon's apology for cutting him from the Boomers squad, I'll take it.
Yeah, apology accepted. One I did have a little bit of a punt on, and it was Taipans versus Melbourne United. Getting up, I've been really impressed with the Taipans this year, and I think they're one of those teams that, unless they keep winning for another 4 weeks, everybody's going to be watching the TV expecting them to lose. But this is a good team. This is a great
Yeah.
team.
They were picked to finish last, and they're now sitting right up there at 3-1, ahead of a lot of teams like Perth and Tassie that were expected to do a lot better than that. Um, they did most this weekend without Grove, which has opened up opportunities for Galloway and Wardenberg and Gack. Do you feel like the success without Groves may change the lineups and the role? Is Groves going to play less now?
I think they can. I think Groves is a lot better defender than Wardenberg, which is probably where I think Groves has the advantage. I've said it many times. I'm not Sam's biggest fan. His basketball game. I'm sure he's a decent bloke, but look, I just didn't expect him to be getting 27 per night. But if he's getting 24, 25 minutes per night with Tanner out there, but AK Yak was great. Like, I think, yeah, Groves needs less minutes. Maybe they need to send him home.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as sending him home, but maybe you start him, but you don't play him as many minutes because I think you really need some minutes for Galloway. The more he plays, the better they look. His ability to shoot that three, the stroke looks wet. Uh, Wardenberg's a different cat, man. We know this. He plays better than he super coaches. He he stretches the floor well. He has butterfingers and misses some bunnies, but he he doesn't really pad the stats other than sort of mid-range rebounds and points. You don't often see steals, blocks, assists. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But at 200K, if you've got him, like,
Mm.
it's not a problem. At 200K, the stars aligned for Sam Wardenberg's scores this week.
Yeah, I think you can hold him another week through the double, make a little extra cash, but then I don't think he's a long-term holder. I'm going to want to get rid of him and look an extra, say, 60 grand that he makes. That's going to allow me to pivot to something a lot better than I would have been before bringing him in.
Mate, there's just one concern with Cairns. Looked like a bit of a niggle for Taryn. He was getting strapped up there. About 5 minutes left. Did come out. Did finish the game. Look, led the team. Played
Yeah.
fantastic. Him and Rob Edwards looked really good beside each other, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, Armstrong talked about it in the post game press conference. He tweaked his ankle in the warm up and then strapped it heavily. He got through the entire game. Had another bit of a elbow from Marcus Lee. Look, I don't think there's anything to worry about here. We'll monitor it through the week, but I think if he's played the entire game after rolling it in the warm up, it can't be that bad.
Mate, in this next one, when we have a look at Melbourne's team, this is the disappointing game we were talking about for Illy. A lot of us were expecting maybe a lot more after he just looked like the second coming of Jesus in the first game. But look, 23 minutes, the bigger guards just looked like Shea Illy did a fantastic job defensively on Bryce Cotton and scored well in the first one, but probably struggled coming against these bigger guards. But look, 10 points, 23 minutes. Again, I think that this is Illy's flaw.
Yeah, I think so. And I just don't feel like you can rely on him. It's rocks and diamonds. You look at this team. We had this season for Illy. Had that last big one where he almost triple doubled in 26 minutes. And you look at the first game of the season that got us all hopeful. Outside of those two games, every other game has been very, very mediocre. Single figures or just low double digits. But I think Delhi coming back, even though Delhi came off the bench, Illy just doesn't play as well when Delhi's there. Delhi's assertive and dominant. And I feel like Illy takes a backward step when he's around.
Yeah, he's oh look, Delhi has all that experience and would be
Intimidating.
probably outside of Chris Goulding the most vocal in every huddle. So
Yeah, for sure. And he's probably got a kid like us that won't go to sleep at the moment, and he's cranky as hell. So
yeah,
wouldn't have been a nice locker room.
yeah. Hopefully he comes off the bench for the next little bit. Nearly gets a bit more without him. Look, let's jump to the last one. Tasmanian Jack. Oh, the last one. I probably want to have a little bit of a chat about the NBL NBA games.
Mm.
I got the opportunity to watch one of those over the weekend. Being away. But yeah, your Jackies. I thought they had been taken to the Craig Sword in this one, and they come back from it.
Yeah, they rose on the third day like Christ himself. It was an awful game to start with. I was just about to turn it off at quarter time. 9 points in the first quarter. You remember Jackie's first year in the league where they really couldn't score? This was our lowest scoring quarter ever. Worse than the Josh Adams era. Look, I thought it was over, and then all of a sudden, Scott Roth, he stayed calm. He took Magnay out, which on one hand just absolutely pissed me off, but on the second hand was a master stroke. And they clawed their way back. Majok Deng came in and just went bang, bang, bang. He is just an absolute mind off the bench. Uh, and some timely shots. Look, Doyle shot like shit. I think he was like 6 of 412 for this game, but the 6 that he hit were big time buckets at the right times, and we know big time players make big time plays.
Yeah, they were. I have no idea how they had. I have no idea why that they had Cotton on Doyle for that final shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just basically popped up, shot it over an ant, and geez, I'm glad this went to overtime for Magnay's score.
yeah. And shout out to Clint Steindl running the sideline like you're actually allowed to do it to get that inbound past him, but all's well that ends well. And as they say, the rest is history. Magnay just got that double double, 13 and 13, but no other stats outside of turnovers for a pretty subdued score. Doyle was big. Majok Deng was enormous. We need to have a close look at the Jackies because we've said round 5, only the Breakers and the Jackies are on the double. Would you bring in a Doyle?
Maybe I think if I'm bringing in somebody for a 1 week play, it has to be for a captain, and out of this team, it has to be Magnay or Doyle for me to captain, unless I am 15,000th and I really want to roll the dice on somebody like Crawford. But you're probably just putting yourself to the Craig
Yeah.
Sword doing that.
You see, I fully intend to bring in PJC, who I will more than likely captain if I'm paying up for that.
So it's not
So
worth it.
it would be a complimentary piece just to be have some more doubles because the way it looks right now, there's going to be a lot of teams playing a lot of guys on singles, and this is where we have to make a decision: who on a single beats someone on a double. And there's a few answers. I'd probably take a Cooks. Uh, Look, I might have Jack White in my team, but we're going to have to look at it as we get up towards round 5. There's going to be some decisions to make. Do we hold quality or do we get guys playing quantity?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's going to be some decisions that are going to make, and those are the weeks when everybody's team starts to get a little bit varied. Like I
Yep,
feel like a lot of people brought in Kendrick and Trez this week, and if you didn't,
yep,
you're probably just trying to outthink the room a little bit too much. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, that week is a week where we're going to see a lot of variations in teams. So.
yeah. Gonna start to separate the men from the boys here. I didn't see a single one of the NBA NBL games. What do you got from those?
Well, I only saw the Jazz one, and the New Zealand Breakers actually didn't disgrace themselves. It was really close at halftime.
Yep,
Only honestly, probably when the Utah Jazz bench come out, and New Zealand Breakers just didn't have the depth. They at halftime, before halftime, they missed their final 11 shots of the half, and they were tie up until that point. They were trading buckets. PJC was going really well. Jonah Bolden looked really well, probably proving to, in my own eyes, that his game doesn't suit the NBL as good as it suits the NBA. But
yep,
one I did put a little earmark in was Kareem Lopez. He's had 13.7 rebounds and 3 assists, just shooting 5 of 8. He's a big, tall lad, and look, coming in, I was interested in McCarron and some blokes like that. I'm not. I'm looking at PJC and Kareem Lopez now.
Yeah. And look, it's a bit weird that you tell me you've been looking really closely at a 17-year-old for a couple of weeks. But you know
I'm a
what?
scout.
When he's got game like that, it's pretty relevant. And at 115K, I don't know what his break even is after playing 2 games, but he could definitely be a bit of a pod. We know New Zealand have had a slow burn in the past, these next stars. In the second half of the season, they've really come on. Like we've seen, Ryan Repair, Hugo Besson. Who was the other lanky? What was the other French guy they had? Went to OKC.
God, I
Anyway,
can't
they've had a
remember.
heap of them. Yeah. Break even 16 for Lopez, which is probably not great for week 1. But look, once those couple of low scores come out of it, we might be cooking here.
Because we've got 3 doubles in a row. Like, even with a
Yep.
break even of 16, if we see his role starting to expand, and maybe they were just giving him some extended burn, because he's obviously wanting to get drafted and playing him over there. Taco Fall didn't play in this one. He was injured for this one, so that's a bit disappointing. There we go. Usman Dane.
Thanks.
Yeah, he was injured in this one. So we didn't get to see him. I was pretty excited to see how he's going to fit in, especially when I'm seeing I probably didn't expect Trez to be as good as he is in the NBL. I didn't know if his game was going to translate. So I'm really excited to be proven wrong with Taco Fall.
Yeah. Look, the only other one out of New Zealand I've got half an eye on is Sam Menenga. Seems like he's won the starting spot alongside probably the weirdest decision ever to come out of New Zealand. They've had some shockers. Max Darling? But look, Menenga, I think, is the guy. He's a stretch big. He's shown he's effective so far. Probably due for a price rise and tasty schedule coming up and relatively cheap. May even be a pivot from Aldrich.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, I think we really should start to be thinking about getting off these Illawarra cash cows that are no longer cash cows.
Yeah, I think we're starting to hit the top of what we can expect. Yeah, that's probably the games for the week. There's the review.
That is. Look, pretty happy to have a short one tonight, considering how hard it was to get into everything. But I do just want to have a chat about our squeeze of the week. The Standard Squeeze has been one of our long-time sponsors. And they give away a prize pack worth up to about $50, whether you want a standard squeeze pack, which is the little bottle so that you don't break any glass. As you squeeze your alcohol up into the chamber, you get the perfect pour. You can take them camping. You can take them to the beach. You don't have to worry about breaking glass. Or they've got their 4-in-1 packs that they've got out. Look, if you're not good enough to win the week, just pop into the store, get 15% off on us. But Smudwas Soldiers, I am very excited to talk about because he scored 469 giggity this week, which takes him to the overall rank of 3rd overall. Now I'm going to tell you how he got there. He had Kendric Davis, captain, Shea Illy in there, Willie Magnay at centre, Montrezl Harrell, and Jack White. That's all good and dandy. That's pretty standard. But where he probably sorted it out, he held Cam Oliver, he had Rob Lowe, he had Benny Henschel, and Dave O'Hickey had a pretty good game. So look, realistically, it's probably just the captain of Davis that got him moving on this one.
Yeah, and some work he's put in over the last couple of weeks to have such a solid bench. Look, to be able to fit in Montrez, Magnay, White, and Cam Oliver through your forwards you're doing something right. So that's a huge effort. Congratulations.
Yeah, so slide in our DMs and claim your prize pack. We'll get that out to you as soon as we can. We've actually got a couple guys in our competition in the top 8 now, which I'm pretty excited to talk about. Friend and fan of the show, Matty Granger. He actually beat me in the only comp that I lost this week in our Insight comp. He scored 449 this week, moved up 67 spots into number 8. So yeah, pretty excited to see how everybody's going. And yeah, there's some very decent teams from the Insight community.
Yeah, look, the benefit of just talking it through on the Patreon, on the Discord. You've got a lot of guys to help critique your trades and talk you in and out of stuff. So, look, I know I troll through the chats a lot to try and finalise my team. So make sure you're active on there, and yeah, another big week coming up.
Mate, let's rattle off. There's not too many questions in the chat. I know we're keen to wrap this one up. But Matty Granger, who we were just talking about, 8th overall, is thinking about bringing in Majok. Now, we'd say that that's probably a decent idea. He's at the very least going to make some money.
Yeah, look, I think this is similar to the Wardenberg trade in this week. The guarantee is you're going to probably make some money. What you're rolling the dice on is Roth. We've seen it before. They start with my favourite, Tarangi, and then they bring in Majok sparingly, and then all of a sudden, if he hits a couple, they ride the hot hand. If he doesn't, he tends to disappear back to the bench again. The matchups this week, I feel like are favourable for him. Yeah, look, I don't think it's a bad play, especially at that price. If you're upgrading a Lat Mayan or you're upgrading or going from a Rob Lowe, I think it could be a really smart move if you got that luxury trade.
Hayden's got one here. He's asking if Magne is a trade out over White this week, considering break evens. And then he's actually planning on getting Magne back the following week.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
I think it's very, very viable. I think you'll probably agree. Magne, you need to get out. He was meant to make 44 grand last week. We didn't get close. And now looks like he's going to just absolutely hemorrhage cash. So this is coming up to a couple of weeks with some big names you want to start bringing in, like PJC. You're going to need that cash. I'd get him out. White's break even is very low. He will get it and make cash again. So I think by going that way, you avoid losing cash and you make cash. Next week, do you bring him back? Maybe. Depends what that break even looks like. I wouldn't be doing it if I'm guaranteed to lose cash. Maybe I'd do it if I had a spare trade, just to have another guy on a double. But we understand he's rocks and diamonds. You may get 100 or you may get 16 again. So, do you agree? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you said it, because how I would have answered it was, I don't know if you want to get Magne back. I just wanted to point out, it's like in his 4 games that he's played, it was like 29, 56, I think 22 and 25, or 24 and 25. Like, I'm worried now that mid to late 20s is actually his norm when he plays those most amount of minutes. And why he's playing less minutes is because he just gets gassed, or like, maybe he was a better Supercoach player if he only played 20.
Perhaps. And we did talk about this a lot last year. He used to come in with Marcus Lee starting. He'd come in against the second unit. So he's either playing a tied starter or he's playing a backup center, who he's a lot better than. He's now coming up against the front line of a lot of teams, and maybe it's not as easy.
All right. Last one, Corey Blackledge. Is White to Cooks and Low to Tyler Robertson good trades this week? I can get around the Whites to Cooks, honestly. But Low to Tyler Robertson, he only got minutes because it was a blowout this week, mate. Tyler Robertson, I do not expect to get meaningful minutes in the NBL this year.
Yeah, look, at that price, I can see why you need to, but this is the first time I think he's hit the court this year. This is not the norm.
Yeah.
It was a blowout. And I think you're better off, if you're going to spend that kind of money, looking somewhere like Elijah Pepper, who I think's played into Rilly's system. Although Rilly just hates Supercoach as well. Make up your mind on your squad. We will talk about it on Wednesday night. The cash cows have been disappointing, especially at that low 69K starting price. I think our best cash cows are coming at a lot higher price point. We're talking Jack White. We're talking Kendric Davis, people like that. I would avoid Tyler Robertson at all costs. But yeah, White to Cooks, it's okay. I would like to hold both. If you can get someone else to Cooks, that'd be good.
Yeah, absolutely. That finishes tonight's show. Just a 55-minute wrap up today, which is always good. But we will be back on Wednesday at 8:30, which I have now learned due to getting some panicked messages. It's actually 9:30 in some of the other states. So yeah, it's late nights with Maddie and Hamish.
Yeah, the soothing monotone tones of Matrix and Hammer taking you all the way to sleep.
We should finish on that, Barry White.
Mm-hmm.
You've listened to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Cheerio.